Well, I remember that before we even got married, we talked about adopting because my brother was from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came about that we were going to adopt again after we already had 2 kids, and we were talking about where we might want to adopt, I had heard about this attachment stuff, but I didn't really know that much about it. All I knew was that there had been parents mainly from adopting from like Russian bloc countries, and their kids couldn't bond with them or something. I didn't really understand it, but that's all I knew. And so I remember asking the agency, if that's my biggest concern, where should we go? And they said, oh, then you want to go to Vietnam because they treat them just like family there. And all of a sudden that hit me that was what we had said before we even got married was, hey, one day, let's go to Vietnam.
I was born in Saigon, Vietnam. So the prospect of adopting a child out of my birth country was indeed very special to us.
It was 1996 when we both felt to start the initiation process of talking about adopting, and one of our kids came up to us and said, I want a little brother named my friend, and it really jumped in our hearts.
The timing of it all, there was an agency here locally that had put an ad in one of the local radio stations that they have a lot of babies that they were looking for families, and it just happened to be in Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, which is where I was born. So it was a journey for myself as well, because it's been 30 years since I've been back. So I think all that is not by accident. So that's probably one of the primary reason why we went with Vietnam, because the opportunity was there for us.
When we were dating, I had asked, could we adopt someday? I knew several families where I grew up in Omaha where they had adopted, and from young little on, I just wanted to adopt. A friend of ours came to us one day and said she had read a flyer. Actually, she had pulled the flyer down off a bulletin board and said, you need to look into this. And it was an advertisement or, a call for families to adopt out of Vietnam.
Well, I remember that was a big trip for 4 of us to fly with 2 children under, what were
they were 7 and 8, yeah.
And they were quite excited, so we traveled through Taipei and then on to Ho Chi Minh, and then arrived to a whole different world.
That was like crazy.
Yeah.
Getting off the plane, everybody, it's so different than here. You just walk out into this sea of people and everybody's screaming and yelling and honking, and luckily we found our translator quickly, and we couldn't wait to go.
What was it, the next morning?
It was the next morning. Yep.
To the orphanage.
Yeah, and we were taken in a van with
several other families.
Yeah, 3 or 4 other families, and I think everybody else was adopting babies, like that were maybe 6 months old or something like that. We were the only ones adopting an older child.
we found out that we didn't get to pick our child. And so we were kind of glad about that, in a sense that we didn't feel like we could just go pick any and leave the rest. But we sensed that we wanted a child between the ages of 1 and 3 or 1 and 4, and just we knew we didn't want an infant. And so we felt very fortunate that the nun had given us a picture, and our son was 2.5 years old by the time we went over and actually picked him up and brought him back.
Everyone was excited. I mean, the boys were excited. We had 2 preteen boys and our preteen daughter. You know what I mean? They were excited and couldn't wait. And our youngest at that time was just about 3, and he was, you know, in his little limited understanding, he was excited too. And we had decided it would be a girl, and so they were all, you know, we had 3 boys, and it was great. Leah was going to get her little sister, which she had wanted for so long. So that's how we started, you know, just realizing a dream that we had been talking about for years.
So, to our surprise, right after we spent some time in the orphanage, we got in the van and took him back to our hotel.
And we didn't know he was coming with us.
And had him for the week, kind of unchecked out, if you will, and just turned over to us for
Here you go.
several days. And that was chaotic from the beginning.
Well, the first thing we did was we ordered food, because we had been at the orphanage for a couple hours, and it was an hour there, an hour back. You know, they'd given the kids a little snack or something, but we were all hungry. And so it's our first real meal in Vietnam, and we couldn't read the menu. And we just ordered from room service at our hotel. And so we picked like 4 different dishes. We just put the plates on this table and gave the kids forks or chopsticks. Maybe they had both, I can't remember. But Brendan and Katie sat down and started, you know, eating a little bit. And Sam just grabbed handful after handful of food off one plate, then stuffed it in, and went to the next plate, stuffed it in. And then he started running around the table, and he just ran and stuffed food. And we're all just like, oh my gosh, what in the world? And we couldn't get him to slow down. He ate and ate and ate, and then he threw it all up.
We got this book from Barnes & Noble, and it had our son's picture and actually his room and his roommates from the orphanage. And as soon as he saw that, which was a few months after we got back, the grieving, the loss of that orphanage started. And it started with behaviors of kind of acting out. And then when we would address him, he would say, I'm so sad, I'm so sad. All my friends are gone. All my friends are gone. It was very heartbreaking to see him, you know, that he had attachments to whatever degree with all of those kids that were in the orphanage.
I mean, I'll never forget, because they told us to wait at the end of an outside corridor, and they started walking with this child, and I thought, I really did, for like the first 35 minutes, I kept thinking, this is not the child. This is not our child. It doesn't look anything like our child. He had brought pictures home just a month before of what she looked like, and I was like, this is not her. But, you know, she had really pretty black hair down to here, and now it was just completely cut. I mean, she had no bangs. It was just cut way up. It was actually somebody in the consulate building who asked if we were aware of why they did that. And we were like, no. And they were like, well, to show you all this scar tissue and all this damage, so that you don't take her back to the United States and then claim you didn't know that she had some damage. And actually asked us at that time, do you want to reject her because of this? And I thought, of course not. You know what I mean? Like, what would that have to do with our love for her, you know, that she has some scars?
So we ended up calling back to the States, and I mean, what was it, like a $500 phone call or something? It was just this enormous amount of money for this phone call. And we were kind of saying, we're nervous here. This is not what we were told, You know, what we were told was he's a well-adjusted, happy little boy who plays well with others, and you know, there was nothing about the physical stuff, the behaviors we were seeing, and so it was kind of scary. And we started thinking, what if this is too much for us? Because we do have 2 other kids. You know, it would be one thing if this was going to be our only child and we just pour everything into this child, but we were thinking about the other kids and thinking about him and our life, and it's like, what should we do? And so we called home and talked to her, and basically she got very angry and guilted us.
Yeah.